Okay, and Sam Jones, welcome to BT Sport. Welcome to Queensberry and Frank Warren and everything we've got going on at the moment. Are you excited about Joe's new deal?
Massively excited. It's to do a deal with Frank at this stage. I think it's the right idea for Joe. It's the right way to go forward. Joe wants the big fights, and we know Frank's the man to take him there. It's a great platform. It's a wonderful platform for Joe, and a good home for him as well.
There's a lot of fights to be made in Frank Warren's stable, let alone in the division. What ones do you want to line up for him first?
I don't know. There's some massive fights out there for him now. Joe's, people forget he's above the ranking system in the WBA. He's above the number one. He's now mandatory for Manuel Charr, who's had the belt for 10 years. So he's and they've got the Caballero fight. That's there. He can't avoid the fight. We've offered the fight to Caballero twice, and twice he's declined. Now he can't really decline because he's mandatory, so he's got to vacate it or fight Joe. And then there's of course the Daniel Dubois fight that's there. Whether that happens next year or there's massive fights. So there's Gorman, Tyson Fury's with Frank. Massive fights that can be made.
You'll manage him. How many fights would you like to see him have before he steps up to that world title level?
I don't know. I'd say I think he's probably 3 fights away. 3 fights away from the big fights. He's got. I think he's in a fight on May the 18th on Billy Joe Saunders undercard. That's going to be a run out, a keep busy fight for him, and with his first fight with Adam Booth. And then we're looking for there's a date lined up for Joe, which is going to be a massive fight. So.
It's been obviously, it always is a steep learning curve when you jump over from amateurs in the professional game. He's only had 8 fights so far. Where do you think his quality is at the moment? In terms of, obviously he's in the WBA ranking, it's the mandatory for Manuel Charr's title. Yeah. But in terms of ranking the actual top 10 best heavyweights in the world, where do you see him?
Top 10 best, I see him, I've got Tyson Fury as number 1. I've got Joshua number 2, Wilder at 3, and on merit, I think Dillian Whyte needs to be at number 4, just because he's done everything asked of him. So respectfully put him there. Then I put Joe right behind him. I really would. I'd put him right behind him. I don't see any other guys beating Joe. Joe would beat all of those guys in and around that level. We'd fancy him against all the top guys. That's what he's in boxing for. Joe's a decorated Olympian. I think one of the most decorated, I think if not the most decorated amateur boxer from this country's history. You don't get there if you're no good. So we're confident, and he's confident in himself. I know he doesn't sometimes come across it because he's a very humble, nice man, but he's confident on all of them. He's sparred all of them, all but Wilder. He's ready to go. If we told him he's ready to fight, if we told him he's fighting Wilder next, he's ready to go.
You mentioned he's got the new trainer, Adam Booth. Obviously, there's still in everyone's game. There's cracks to exactly. You need room for improvement. What do you think that Booth is the perfect person for Joyce?
This is no disrespect to anybody else, but Adam Booth was Joe's number 1 choice. He always has been. Adam Booth knows that, which is the reason why he's took Joe on. He knew he was the first choice, but he was busy. So as soon as Adam Booth became available, when I continued to message him, we wanted him straight there. And I'm not just saying this. The improvements are there already. He's been there a month. Improvements are ridiculous already.
What did you see in the Stavern fight that you thought he needed to improve on?
Joe was falling asleep, punching him in the head. He was just falling asleep, just punching him in the head. So it was just like he needed more to. I mean, we're talking about a form. He wasn't in the greatest of shape, but he was a former world heavyweight champion, and he's had 2 bad nights in his career. One very bad night against Wilder, but he's 2 of his last 3 fights were against Deontay Wilder. We're talking about a man. Joe's had 8 fights, and he boxed Stavern and didn't lose around it, but he took a couple of big shots, and Joe can't be that careless at the highest possible level.
So let's talk about a couple of the potential opponents. And you mentioned Caballero. Do you think that's an easy night for Joe?
I don't think it's an easy night for Joe, but Joe will run him over like a truck. He would. He's not Derek Chisora. No disrespect to Derek, but Joe's better than Derek Chisora, and Joe will mow him over. And
then the 2 Frank Warren guys, Nathan Gorman and Daniel Dubois. You see a similar fate for them if they ever meet in the ring?
I think it's far too early for Daniel Dubois. Daniel Dubois is a very good fighter. I rate him highly. Rate Nathan highly as well, but they've got different styles, haven't they? Nathan's more of a boxer, and Daniel's more of he's an upright, big strong heavyweight. But I'd fancy Joe against both of them, of course.
Do you think that's the potential once they're at the world level and your Joshua's, Furies and that have bowed out? You think that's something that could happen even at that level?
100%. I think they've all got the potential, Joe, Daniel and Nathan, to be the top guys. They really have. Daniel and Nathan are young in themselves. They've got plenty of time on their hands. So for me, if I was looking after them, they'd be taking their time, not rushing into doing anything crazy.
Now, Joyce's status is growing within boxing, his profile is growing. Are you enjoying the opportunity to be the sort of man behind the man?
Not really. No, I don't know. It's nice because I've been with Joe from the beginning, and people don't see we was flying economy flights to Vegas to do training camps, and now we're moving up in the world a little bit. It's nice, but I just want Joe to get what he deserves out of boxing, because he's an all-round athlete. He lives like an athlete all year round, and he deserves the best. And I know he's capable of winning a world title. And people go on about, oh, he's slow, he's old. Well, when that slow old man wins a world title in slow motion, what are they going to say then?
And we see there a little demonstration. You're very much a talker, aren't you? And do you feel like to get ahead in this game? We know what heavyweight boxing is like. There's so much politics, and so much is based on who's the most favourable guy. Yeah. Do you feel like you've got a big job in your hand? Like you say, he's a nice, humble bloke. He's
too nice and humble sometimes, Joe, for his own good. Like when you was asking him a minute ago, how do you reckon you get on with Caballo? And Joe just went, I think I'd beat. Joe knows he'd beat him. He said it to me. He said it to me off camera. He goes, I'd beat him. Joe's too nice sometimes for his own good, but. Listen, it's a business, isn't it? Boxing, it's a business. It's for the fans, isn't it? It's entertainment. That's what people want to see, entertainment. And I think BT Sport now, he's got a proper platform behind it. People see Joe's personality come out, and he's a very intelligent man. He's got a degree in fine art. There's a lot more that meets the eye with Joe, and I'm sure his personality will come out more.
Yeah, the degree in fine art, I was looking that up before I spoke to him. There can't be many boxers in the world that have got such a sort of unique degree as that.
No, he's a BA in fine art. He's a unique character. When people call him stiff as well, it amuses me a bit, because he does Brazilian capoeira. Like a man that size shouldn't be moving like that. But that's what I mean. I think it will come out more in his performances. Like people say, oh, he's stiff and he's out. But Joe has won every fight. He's not lost a round in professional boxing yet. So I think the higher the level he boxes at, the better Joe will be.
I'm a bit stuck on this Brazilian capoeira thing. I can't believe it. Have you got footage of this?
Brazilian capoeira? Yeah, there's loads of. I'll have to send you a sneaky video of him. He does it. That backflips, cartwheels. He does all kinds of standing backflips. It's incredible. I can't barely do a roly-poly, let alone a standing backflip. A 6'6" man, 260-pound man.
Do you ever try getting involved?
I have tried to do it before, but I won't tell you how it ended. But I have attempted a few manoeuvres, and it's not ended well for me.
On a personal level, are you glad to be back in England for the training camp?
Yeah, 100%. Like the American experience is invaluable for Joe. Obviously, training alongside Golovkin, time with Abel Sanchez. I think he's done most of his camps in America, but Joe needed a core base in the UK. He's got a fantastic UK-based promoter now, frankly. He's got a monster platform like BT Sport backing him now. It's just what he needed to take him to that next level.
And obviously there's a lot of talk at the moment about fighters going over to America, a lot of British fighters going over to America. It shows that there's still a boxing scene here, and there's also a big space for someone to take the role at the top.
There's a massive opportunity for Joe now, because the UK in America, every time Joe's boxed in America, yeah, it's fantastic. Vegas, I've been to all of them. I've got another heavyweight called Guido Vianello. He's boxing on the Tyson Fury undercard. These experiences are amazing, but there's nothing like a UK crowd. There's the Wembley Stadium shows that Joshua was doing, and then the Manchester Arena. I went to Frampton against Warrington. That was one of the best atmospheres I've ever experienced at a boxing match. I think it was in December at the MEN Arena. That's what I want Joe involved in. I want him to experience.
Are there sort of I mentioned earlier the bucket list to Joe? Is there venues that you want to see him go in?
I want to see Joe main event. I'd love to see him box at Wembley in an all British fight against Fury, Joshua. I want to see him in that, because he deserves it. He deserves that kind of platform. But of course, boxing at Las Vegas is every boxer's dream, and I know that's what Joe wants to do. But he wants to main event his own show in the UK.
And you're in a management role with him, so you're going to have to face a lot of the sort of boxing politics that go about, particularly in the heavyweight division at the moment. Are you ready for that now you've got Frank on your side as well?
People don't realise how hard it is sometimes to make certain fights. They just think, oh, it's an easy fight. It's just fight. You've got to think of finances, the boxer's finances. You've got to think of what's next after that. There's so many things to put together. But the best thing about working with Joe is he will genuinely fight anyone. I mean that. He will fight anybody. He's just you've just interviewed him a minute ago. If you asked him to fight Wilder next, he would.
Are you going to make a habit out of winding up his opponents like you did the Stavern fight?
Stavern wound himself up. Stavern wound himself up. No, of course not. I'm not going to wind up opponents, but I'll just say what Joe won't say, because that's what he's too reserved to say it. So I'll say what he's thinking.
All right, then, to finish off, let's say 1 year from now, where do you see Joe Joyce?
A world heavyweight champion, 100%. We didn't believe that we wouldn't be in boxing.
Perfect. Thank you very much, mate.